said Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door. He said that Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door.
I've been doing some holding it. Give the camera some light.
Hey, give the camera some light. How you doing, everyone? Welcome to this special edition of the Cajun Conservative Show on Facebook and on YouTube. I am with Michael Lunsford. He is I guess you could say, the creator of the Citizens for a Better Louisiana. How do you say that, Michael?
Citizens for New Louisiana. We don't need a better Louisiana because we're in 50th place, and better would be 49th. And I don't know about you, but 49th isn't good enough for me. So it's new. We're going to change. We're starting over.
Let's change the whole thing. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was excited when I heard Jeff Landry was running for governor. I jumped out of my skin. I already knew it was going to happen, but I think we need somebody like that in Louisiana to change the balance of things that are happening now.
Absolutely. Jeff is a fantastic warrior for all things conservative, all things liberty. And I can't think of a better guy to be governor of the state of Louisiana at this critical moment in our history.
Yeah, so he's already in a fight with the Biden administration on a lot of things. I just hope that he brings back drilling. I hope he brings back new jobs. We've been on a decline with people leaving our state. We almost lost a congressman this year. We just passed over the threshold to keep our 7th congressman here, and later on we might lose one in the next 10 years. We don't know, but we're hoping that changes when Jeff comes into the scene.
We should have lost one this cycle. I was talking to John Stefanski, who was the chairman of the Governmental Affairs Committee, I'm pretty sure, and he drew the maps, and he said the only reason we didn't lose one was because we lost one last time, and so they're trying to spread out the misery to other states. So we probably should have lost one.
Wow.
The good news is, I don't even think Jeff is going to have to do anything just by virtue of his winning the election. I think oil field will return to Louisiana because the negative climate that the current governor has put for that industry in our state has been so terrible that I believe that there's money tied up just sitting in an account somewhere ready to go. I know during the last cycle for governor's race, I heard there were contingencies for a lot of purchases, oil field related, crew boats, things like that. And the contingency in the purchase was John Bel Edwards lost the election.
Wow.
And that didn't happen. All the contracts went away. So yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to seeing Louisiana start to recover after this terrible governor is gone. Absolutely.
Yeah, we need some good news in the state. And look, I heard Elbert Guillory. I met Mr. Guillory a while back at the RPEC meeting in Henderson, and I can't wait. I hope him and Jeff get in there. I think that'll be a great team. We need a good Secretary of State, which I think John is still running, if I'm not mistaken. Or is he running for governor?
John.
Is it Schroeder, I think?
Schroeder's treasurer. He's been talking about running for governor. I don't know officially if he's announced yet. He has said to groups that he's not planning to run for treasurer. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. He's a tremendous champion. He's probably been the best treasurer we've ever had in the state of Louisiana. He's been strong, conservative. You remember this, all this wokeism that we're seeing in the financial sector, right. He's battling against. So I'm pretty thrilled about that. That's pretty recent. He also, they cut off LaToya Cantrell in New Orleans for doing her shenanigans through the bond commission. There've been pretty strong things going on with John Schroeder at the helm of the Treasury. He refused to turn over our money, the unclaimed property money from the Treasury to the governor to go spend on, whatever little projects he wanted to spend it on. Right. So John's been fantastic, man. He's just been the best treasurer I can ever remember us having. So, if he runs for governor, anybody's got a shot. Everyone has a right to run. I just feel like it's Jeff's time. He's been, it's time for him to get in and clean house. I'm excited about it.
Right. Now I was thinking of Kyle Ardoin for some reason. I think he's still running for
secretary. I don't anticipate him changing any. I talked to him occasionally. I talked to him the other day. He's, I don't think he's not running.
Yeah, I think he's a good Secretary of State. So,
yeah, he's been doing a good job. Now there are people on the fringes that don't agree, but I think overall he's doing a fantastic job. He's doing what he can. He's tried to change our voting machines a few times. He's been blocked at almost every turn. I think this time now that he's working on changing our voting machines might be successful because he's done it slowly, methodically, and he's opened up everything for public input. It's been the most transparent process I've seen in a long time. Now we have, we have fringe folks that believe it's not as transparent as it could be, but hey, you know what? I think it's the most transparent we've ever had, which is an improvement, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. So, Michael, we got you on for a particular reason. I was sent an article from the Citizens for a New Louisiana, and you wrote an article called "Buz Leblanc Had One Job," and we're putting this on YouTube as well, but we're mainly trying to reach people in Breaux Bridge. We're trying to talk over because there's a highly contentious police chief race there. People are Hubert Aguilar's running for chief of police. Buz Leblanc's running for chief of police. Rodney Chitwood. I've met all three of these men, and I've commended all of them for not being dirty on the campaign trail. Rodney Chitwood, Hubert Aguilar, Buz. They have not attacked each other that I'm aware of. And that's a good thing. I think because we got two Republicans, we got one independent, I believe, or no party. Mr. Aguilar is. But we had there's an issue with Mr. Leblanc, and I would like you're part of the St. Martin Parish RPEC. You're the secretary there, and you got a lot of hats, you got a lot of titles. But what happened at this RPEC meeting? I was scheduled to go, and I could not make it due to schedule conflict. But what happened at this meeting? We know that Mr. Leblanc did you could say did some shady stuff.
Well, so now every organization has rules. In fact, we operate as the St. Martin Parish Republican Party, as do many other parish Republican parties and even the state Republican Party, under a parliamentary form called Robert's Rules of Order. We also have our own bylaws, which generally speaking, you're supposed to have general rules for how your organization operates so that everyone is aware of them, so that no one violates another member's rights, for example. So we have bylaws. Another layer that we have that a private organization might have as well is we are in Title 18 in the state of Louisiana law. It's in statute. So the basic framework for what we do is in the state law, then we have bylaws, and then we would revert to Robert's Rules of Order if those three or those other layers don't apply. Generally, in parliamentary procedure, there's yet a fourth layer. That fourth layer would be standing rules, which you can generally change pretty regularly. But it's not so much. Bylaws are pretty hard and fast. You need a 2/3 majority to change them. Standing rules, you only need 50% plus one. So in the private sector or in a nonprofit organization, the similarity would be you have articles of incorporation would be the top level where we have Title 18 in law, articles of incorporation. Then underneath articles, you would have bylaws and standing rules, things like that. So very, very similar organizational structure to anything else. Now, at our meeting in St. Martin Parish in Henderson, we meet at Pat's. Lately is where we have been meeting. It's election season. Let's face it. November the 8th, there's an election on the ballot. We have this city chief of police race. We also have a congressman. We have senators on the race on the ballot. We have 11 constitutional amendments, I believe, if memory serves.
Eight amendments.
Oh, is it 8 amendments?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've got. Man, there's just so much on the ballot right now. So what does an average person do? But they rely on expert advice from people that pay attention to this stuff, because a lot of folks, they're busy. They're, taking their kids, picking them up from school, taking them to soccer practice, baseball, ballet, pick something, cheerleading practice. They're busy, so they don't pay attention. They're not like you and I that are watching this stuff every single day. So when the day comes and it's election time, you get a phone call. I'll get a phone call. We'll get a dozen phone calls saying, hey, I don't know anything about this. How do I vote? Right. So the better ones will at least start paying attention a couple of days ahead of time. and they want to know, okay, are there any endorsed candidates? Or, okay, there's 2 Republicans running. Which one is a real Republican? Which one is a rhino? And they start, searching around trying to figure it out. So when you're doing your searches, what do you find? You find, oh, they're endorsed by the Republican Party, the state Republican Party, the parish Republican Party. You've got all these endorsements. Well, for whatever reason, Buz just unilaterally decided we weren't endorsing candidates this cycle. And he said it's against the rules. I'm thinking, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. The RPEC, the parish, it's the Republican Parish Executive Committee, literally has one job. That is to endorse candidates, to let the public know who we think, as the politicos, who we think the best candidate is, who represents the Republican Party better than any other. And it's possible to get multiple endorsements. So you could say, well, look, both of them are pretty okay. We'll just endorse them both. That's not uncommon. But to say we're not endorsing at all, in fact, I think this is the first time I've ever heard of such a thing. So, I brought a bunch of motions. We brought a motion to endorse somebody. He said it was out of order because we're not endorsing, because he said so. And he managed to call ahead and get a bunch of people on board with that. And so we were thwarted in our effort to get endorsements done. Now, the nefarious piece to this is we had a member who was out sick. He sent in a proxy vote to me. And because they knew how he was going to vote and that he wasn't there to defend himself, they decided arbitrarily to declare that he was invalid and he could no longer proxy. And he had the votes to do it. And it's against the rules. We have bylaws that say you have to give at least 10 days notice, and you have to have not a public hearing, but you have to have a hearing where that person has a right to come and face their accusers as to any reason why they should not be voting in your organization. That did not take place. He just arbitrarily declared at the beginning of the meeting that proxy was not valid. And that flipped every other vote for the entire meeting. That one move he did. So that's the problem we have.
So it was just not, it wasn't just that endorsing candidates changed. What did it have any other importance thing on the docket that day?
So I didn't mention this in the article. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to write about this or not, but we have a guy who was on the RPEC last time. His name is Rick Pearson, and he was voted off by the public. That about 70% of the folks in Breaux Bridge said they didn't want him to represent them anymore. They wanted Corey Melanson to represent them. So we still have a few openings. We had Coach Pat was on for a while. He passed away, so there was an opening, at large, which is parish-wide, at large. And if you live anywhere in the parish, you qualify to be at large. Well, Buz has been trying to get him on and appointed. So 3 months ago, was it? So 3 months ago, I was out sick that meeting, and he decided he was going to amend the agenda on the floor. Well, he didn't call to amend the agenda. He just made a motion to add Rick Pearson in as a member of the organization, a voting member. And I had to object when I got back to the next meeting. I said, this was not done properly. You're supposed to give 20 days notice. You're supposed to notify the public that you intend to endorse or that you intend to appoint a member. And the public is allowed to send in applications because they might want to be a member too. You don't just pick somebody and appoint them. That's outside of our bylaws. Well, he did it. We got it beat back. And then he brought it up again at this particular meeting where he refused to endorse. He says, well, we're going to appoint Rick Pearson now. We've done the 20 days notice. We've done all the things. He's here. We're appointing now. Well, it was a 4-4 tie vote. So he broke the tie and he appointed Rick Pearson because they revoked the ability of another member to vote. So now we have an illegal appointment of another member. And the whole purpose of this is to get somebody to vote with him to do all this nefarious stuff they want to get done. That's the challenge we're running into, is they're trying to stack the committee to do, I'm going to say rhino stuff. And I'll say that because I happen to know that Rick Pearson is a big John Bel Edwards fan. I have selfies of him and John Bel Edwards that I've shown to the committee before. His wife, Lottie Beebe, who was on the Bessie board for a long time, actually told the public via her Facebook, it's still there, that she voted for John Bel Edwards. Now, how in the world would somebody who openly says they think John Bel Edwards is doing a great job when we're 50th, they've destroyed the oil field, our insurance rates are the highest they've ever been, why would we appoint someone like that to the Republican Parish Executive Committee? It defies all logic. You know?
Yeah.
So that's something else that happened at the meeting. Yes.
It defies logic, but at the same time, we are, because supposedly majority of y'all are conservative. And if
theory.
yeah, in theory, and now is this person is he a Republican or is he registered Republican?
Well, you have to be registered Republican. I checked
Correct.
that. He is registered Republican, but a big John Bel Edwards fan. No, and John Bel Edwards is like the most anti-Republican person.
Correct.
If you're looking at the spectrum, political spectrum, he would be the furthest from a Republican of many of the candidates out there. He's for all of this woke stuff. You remember he vetoed. Didn't want boys in girls' locker rooms in schools. That bill was brought by Sharon Hewitt 2 cycles ago. He vetoed it. Now we were able to get it through. The legislature was able to get it through last time without a veto, or they overrode the veto, or whatever they did. But the fact of the matter is, John Bel Edwards vetoed that. That's who Rick Pearson supported. That's who Lottie Beebe supported. That's who Rick Pearson wants on the Rick. That's who Buz Leblanc is trying to get appointed to the RPAC. Why in the world would you even be in the Republican Party if you believe this kind of stuff?
Well, it's Michael. It's like a lot of national stuff. They're rhinos. Rick Pearson can be compared to, if he watches this, he's probably gonna get mad at me, but he can be compared to Liz Cheney, Sinslinger. He can be compared to a lot of them. Backstabbing Cassidy. I hope you don't mind me saying that. Yeah. Okay. So, but you have, and this is the problem with the Republican Party. You have people that act like Republicans, or say they are Republicans, but they don't do nothing for the Republican Party. And this is what gets me about Buz LeBlanc on this issue, is that he picked somebody that's not, because I've talked to Buz already, and Buz makes himself to be an ultra conservative. But if your actions speak louder than words.
Right. And I think absolutely.
I think this is why at least the Republican Party of St. Martin Parish, Bro Bridge, needs to know this, because look, Buz is getting backed by a lot of people right now, a lot of big people. Ricky Kale, the mayor of Bro Bridge, is really pushing Buz LeBlanc. There's some who believe that he wanted to appoint Buz as chief, but they had to go through red tape to appoint somebody. I don't know if you remember that. People in Bro Bridge would livid. They didn't want to vote.
It wasn't red tape. They asked Senator Fred Mills, to bring a bill in the legislature to change Bro Bridge's rules so that they could appoint a chief instead of electing one. And we all know now who the candidate was, Buz LeBlanc. Why in the world would they want to appoint Buz LeBlanc? Why wouldn't they just allow him to run for an election? Well, maybe it's because he hasn't really won an election for any real job anyway. So perhaps that's it. I don't know. But I think you make a good point. Who did Ricky Kale want to appoint to that job? Who is he supporting now? I would suggest that they're the same person.
Well, he is, and he's not hiding it. And look, and I think this is why, and I've discussed this with a lot of people. Rodney Chitwood is the wrench that went into the spoke, basically, because you have one class of people. You have the chief of police endorsing Hubert Aguilar, which he can do. It is his right. He can do. So you have the chief of police supporting Mr. Hubert. Then you have Buz being supported by the mayor of Bro Bridge, and that's how the battle was supposed to be. And Rodney Chitwood puts his head in there and says, "Look, I'm going to run." That's splitting the Republican vote right there. And look, nothing against like I said, I've talked to Mr. Hubert. I like Mr. Hubert. Rodney Chitwood, same way. I talk to Rodney on a regular basis, and it's just like I feel that Buz thinks he's going to easy ride into there. And that is scary. The voters need to make that decision. When they wanted to appoint him, like you said, I don't know why. Buz is 2 failed sheriff candidate. He has ran for our sheriff twice and has not gotten there. He lost to Rodney Terrio and to Beckett Bro. So like I said, and I just don't see the energy from Buz LeBlanc. My experience.
Well. Yeah, and now that we're talking about that, we've had opportunities. So at the RPEC meeting, Rodney Chitwood came and spoke to us, I don't know, a meeting or two ago. Buz was there. Buz was on the agenda. Buz told me to take him off the agenda. He didn't want to speak. There was a Bro Bridge Chamber of Commerce event where Buz and and the other candidates were supposed to be. Buz didn't show up. There have been, my understanding is, multiple opportunities for him to come and address the public, and he has not done so. So the question becomes, we're seeing these candidates who successfully win elections from their basement. Joe Biden, for example. No one ever showed up to a Joe Biden rally, and yet here we are. We've got the guy here. I don't know how you feel about Scott Angel. Scott Angel ran his campaign for Congress in 2016 from his basement. He didn't show up. I was the chairman at the time. I called him. I asked him to come to our meeting. He wouldn't come for the RPEC. I tried to go to events where he was being, speaking. He didn't really do any speaking engagements. All he did was go around to the fundraising events that he set up for himself, and that's the only place anyone ever saw him. I think it's a very similar feel here. You have a guy who feels like he's a shoo-in. He's going to get in. There's not going to be any problems. Everybody supports him. He didn't have to make an effort. Now, when Rodney got in, you started seeing these big 4x8 signs popping up all over town, right? Or 3x6 or whatever.
Right.
Sign. I didn't pull out the tape measure, but the big signs are popping up. Well, those signs weren't there before.
No.
He wasn't walking before Rodney started walking, So I think he realizes there's a little bit more to running for office than just being on the ballot, Yeah,
and that was, look, Rodney was the first one to put out signs, and BGS Media here helped make his videos. He hired us to go ahead and make the videos, and you go ahead and I didn't see no signs before. Now, Rodney was a last-minute candidate. He decided to go in last, so he had to start making his name out there. But there was some people we were hearing around Bro Bridge saying, look, we thought you were the only candidate running. We didn't know they had other candidates. And Rodney put the other two, I believe, pushed the other two candidates to go ahead and we need to start promoting ourselves a little bit more. And look, Buz Leblanc, out of everybody right now, has all the signs. You go around Bro Bridge, you see a lot of Hubert, you see a lot of Rodney, but all of a sudden, all these signs are coming out for Buz Leblanc, and I'm not against that. If he got money to spend it. But there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that I'm not liking seeing in a small town like Bro Bridge.
Yeah, it's just bad stuff. And look, if your folks that are watching this haven't seen the article yet, it's newlouisiana.org. I'd encourage you to go read it. It's very thorough. It goes into the rules that were broken. And the question I asked in the article originally was, if someone is willing to break the rules or change the rules or enforce arbitrarily some rules and not others when it suits them, are they suitable to be a chief of police that's supposed to be enforcing the law? Now, listen, this RPEC stuff, let's face it, nobody cares about it. Nobody. I talked to one candidate, says, I was running for office and I found out there's this thing called an RPEC. I'm in my 50s. I've never heard of this before. Obviously, the RPEC doesn't make a tremendous difference in anybody's personal life, except for maybe the members that are on it. But it gives us an opportunity to see, before someone shows up for elected office, how they're going to perform maybe when nobody's watching. And I think that's a true gauge of how they will perform when everybody's watching. So when we see blatant rule violations, obnoxious rule violations, denying a member their right to vote because you presume how they're going to vote and you don't like that outcome, so you're going to block their ability to vote. That's not America, man. That's just, I just don't believe that someone should be given additional authority when the little minuscule amount of authority they've been given is abused. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense, because what the problem we're having right now in America right now. Well, let's use, for example, the oil crisis. I did a podcast episode right before we came on, and I talked about Joe Biden. Joe Biden saying, well, we're producing 12 million barrels of oil a day. We need to drill more in America. And I'm like, well, hold on. At the beginning of your campaign and when you got into office, you signed executive orders stopping all drilling and killing the Keystone Pipeline. I even mentioned Jeff Landry fighting him in court to keep us drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. And Biden is trying to do the same thing. And, I'm not trying to compare Buzz to Biden, but it's kind of the same shady stuff right there, too. If you're going to change, and that, look, unfortunately, I can't vote because I'm not in the city limits of Bro Bridge. But I know a lot of people that are. And that's why I want to make this video, because
I am.
Hey, go vote.
I plan on it.
But
I don't miss an election.
I'm the same way, Michael. I don't like missing elections. If I do, I get sick. But it goes to the point like this, though. If you're in the city of Breaux Bridge, like you said, if this man's going to change rules at a committee hearing to get what he wants, what is he going to do when he's the chief of police of Breaux Bridge?
Right.
And that is scary.
That's the problem for me, because we've heard, and look, I live in Breaux Bridge. I hear this stuff. We have houses. We have the cars being broken into. We have businesses being broken into. We have things being stolen. And, the vibe they're getting right now is, from the top, they're not seeing a lot of action from Ricky Kahle trying to get this stuff figured out. Now, I understand we have an elected chief of police, but Ricky can apply some pressure. The budget for the police department comes from the city.
Right.
So he could fix this if he wanted to. So Ricky Kahle is in charge. He owns it. And who does Ricky Kahle want to maintain his, hold over the city police? He wants Buz Leblanc.
Do you think
a guy who we now know recently, thanks to these RPEC meetings, that he will modify, manipulate the rules? How does that work when it comes to law enforcement? How does it work when, is he going to pull over people for speeding that aren't speeding? Is he going to pull people over for rolling stop signs, or unless he knows who they are and he likes them? Is he going to arrest people on drug charges and not arrest others? These are the questions that I have. They're running through my mind as I'm going through. Why in the world would we have somebody as a chief of police who can't be trusted to follow the guidelines set before him? It bothers me, right?
No, and it bothers me because this is how the next question I'm about to ask you. Do you think Ricky Kahle wants a yes man in there?
Well, absolutely. And if you know Buz, and I do, Buz does not have a very forceful personality. Now, he has been a little forceful here these past few meetings because he wants certain things done. He wanted Rick Pearson appointed. He's pushed pretty hard for that. But he's generally not a forceful person. So I would assume that's someone that you could probably get to do what you want.
So on that note, you say you live in Breaux Bridge and all this stuff. Because he has problems to be tough on crime. Do you, like you said, do you think he will be tough on crime, or do you think because the way it's sounding like, Michael, the mayor of Breaux Bridge, Ricky Kahle, and you have Buz Leblanc, they're probably good friends. And look, small towns like this, I even live in a smaller town next door. Everybody knows everybody's grandmother. Everybody knows their brother. Everybody knows everybody. Do you think this is just, hey, I don't think you're the right person, but at the same time, you've been friends for a while, you've been in law enforcement, I would like to put you in my administration?
I don't know that they've been friends. In fact, I would suggest they probably haven't. But, it came up. It's an opportunity to have somebody in there that's, I feel maybe has a weak constitution and can be manipulated from, someone who's strong. Now, I got to tell you one thing about Ricky Kahle is he has a very forceful personality. He gets things done. That's his thing.
Right.
And so a lot of people are going to have trouble standing up against that if it's something that shouldn't be done or something they don't agree with. I mean, Ricky he'll ramrod it. He'll get it done. And that's good and bad. I understand if there's a problem we got to fix, you want somebody like that in charge, right? But at the same time, what have we been doing about this crime issue in Breaux Bridge? I had someone tell me not too long ago, the number one economic development program in any community is law enforcement. Because if you can't be safe, no one's going to want to live there.
Right.
It doesn't matter. None of the other stuff matters. Tax breaks, tax incentives, free stuff. Doesn't matter if you don't feel like you're safe getting out of your car, going to the store, going home. You're just going to move away. Or you're not going to be able to be tempted to move into that community. So to me, law enforcement, number one, the question becomes, do I trust or would I trust Buz to be the chief of police? The answer is no. Would I trust Rodney? I think Rodney will do a good job. I haven't met Hubert Augustine, so you have me at an advantage there. I understand he is a police officer who's been on the force for years and years in Breaux Bridge. I'd like to meet him. Maybe I can make that happen before Election Day.
Hey, well, he was at an event. He was at an event last week, and that's why I'm gonna be good on that too. Mr. Hubert, nice guy. We've asked him to come on. He would like to come on. We just haven't scheduled the dates yet. We haven't got back together. Super nice guy. Mr. Hubert. I've heard everything good about Mr. Hubert. Rodney's the same way. A lot of people when he first got in, he don't have nothing to do with the police department, and then he started talking about how he had his military record and his police record, and I was like, wow. Mr. Hubert, like I said, great guy. You would love him. He's a great guy.
So I've known Rodney for years. He's a graduate of Burbridge High School. I didn't encourage him to run, by the way. I thought, and just like anybody in Burbridge, you don't have a Cajun last name. What are your chances?
Right.
I do wonder about that. And it bothers me that in a community as progressive as Burbridge has become, that would be a problem. But it is a problem in the area. So I think folks need to take a sharp and a long look at his experience and the work he's doing. One thing I'll tell you, he is a small business owner. He has a fleet of trucks. He does the Mosquito
Authority,
I believe. And he's been growing this thing from zero. And he's got a bunch of trucks now, a bunch of employees. He understands how to make payroll. He understands budget process. He understands all of those things. I just think that he'd be a good fit for law enforcement. He'll probably have a chief. I don't know if they call them chief deputies in the city police, but he'll probably have a pretty strong guy with law enforcement experience, 20 years plus, that understands that side of the business. But I mean, to be honest, what we need most, I believe, in the city of Breaux Bridge and the police department is a vision and leadership. And I just, I get it. Rolly has been there for a long time. He's ready to retire. He's moving on. Lord bless him. I love Rolly. I think he's a great guy. But when we bring somebody in to make a change, absolutely we have to have someone with vision. Rodney, I believe, has a vision. I've heard his vision. I've been at the same place. Buz was in the room. He had an opportunity to speak. He chose not to cast vision. The Chamber of Commerce issue, again, he chose not to share a vision if he even has one. So what are we to choose? I mean, we have one guy with a vision. That's all I'm aware of.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing. Like Mr. Hubert, he has gone out to the community. He has done events, like it was the rice and gravy cook-off that he did in Breaux Bridge. And look, he didn't shoo you away. Mr. Hubert talked to you. He told you what his vision was. Rodney's the same way. Rodney's out there. Rodney has went to every event that he's been invited on. He's been knocking on doors. And like I said, besides the signs, I'm not seeing too much of Buz Leblanc. And look, don't get me wrong, look, his Facebook page, I like all three of them. I monitor all three of them because this is a local election that needs to be keep an eye on. But it's like, look for Ricky Kale, he ran unopposed this year. He has no one running against him, so he's going to be the mayor again. It just like I said, when I read the article and I was sent the article, somebody sent me the article. It just bothered me. The same thing as you. It just, like you said, do you want somebody that wants to be a yes man or somebody who's going to get something done and have a vision?
Right.
And look, I am a Republican. I've been hesitant to say that, but if I lived in the city of Breaux Bridge, and look, I like Mr. Hubert, I like Rodney, I even met Buz. Like I said, I invited Buz, talking about him not facing the community. I've invited him multiple times to come in this show. The only one that has come is Rodney. Yeah. And, if I lived in the city of Breaux Bridge, and I've said this on my personal page, this is on the Cajun Conservative, but I probably would vote for Rodney Chitwood.
Well, before you move on from that point, let's explore that a little bit. So you've asked all these folks to show up and talk to you. You have a voice, you have a podcast, people are seeing it, they're hearing it. Rodney's the only one to respond. Let me ask you, how do you think, or why do you think they would change their behavior after they got elected? If they're not responding before they get elected, why would they answer the phone after? And I think this is a valid point because the chief of police needs to be available.
Right.
If you've got concern, and look, this is a small force. We have a dozen officers. It's not really, maybe 20. It's not a tremendous police force in the city of Breaux Bridge. There's 3,500 voters, right? It's not huge. It's not this big, huge metropolis, right? So the chief is generally, he's the face of the police department. He's out in the community. He's talking to people. He's, that's who you want to see. You're going to feel safe because he's here, right? If the other candidates aren't showing up and they're not out in the community now, why would they change their evil ways? We'll call it evil way. Why would they change their ways suddenly the day after the election,
Michael, I know what it is, and I have conservative on my names. That's a whole nother standard. If if I say the Cajun Republican, but I'm the Cajun conservative, so I don't know. But I get what you're saying, though. It is, if they can't answer questions now, what's going to change? Because look, you said Buz is basically running from his basement. How is he going to come out the basement when he gets sworn in? Or, hey, where's the chief of police? Oh, we don't know.
Well, look, let's be fair. Rodney's come knocking. He's come to my house a few times. I had a sign was damaged. He brought me another one. We had a Congressman Higgins sign that was damaged, and Congressman Higgins says, I'm going to see him damage this one. And so I got this great big sign now with these big steel posts. You ain't going to break those posts, brother.
Yeah, I hear you.
So Rodney's come by a few times. I haven't seen Hubert, and I haven't seen Buz.
And that's what somebody told me the other day. They said signs don't vote. Signs don't vote. You can have all the signs, but signs don't vote. And I think that's gonna hurt. I think that's gonna hurt the other two candidates, that they're not. And like I said, to give Mr. Hubert credit, he has been out in the communities. He has been at events. He was at an event last week. He was at the rice and gravy cook-off. He's out there in the community. He is helping the community in certain ways. I've seen Buz at one event, and he didn't have no booth. He didn't have nothing. He was just walking, handing out cards. And look, to his credit, and like I said, look, I hope anyone that's watching this, and especially if the candidates are watching this, I have nothing against y'all. I don't think, Michael, you have nothing, but we got to judge you by your policy and your attitude of how you're going to conduct the law.
Yeah. And look, there's folks have accused me of having personal reasons against Buz, and I agree. And I'll let you know, we disagreed a few years ago in 2020. He ran against me for state Republican Party. He said it wasn't because he disagreed with any of my policies, but that he wanted to be more involved. And I can respect that. He did beat me in that election, and I chalk it up to my lack of a Cajun last name. It was a significant thrashing in the Breaux Bridge area, and hey, that's fine. A friend of mine once said the best candidate doesn't always win; the one with the most votes does. So he got in, and he does attend. I checked to make sure, because I'm a transparency and accountability kind of guy. He does attend all of the state Republican Party meetings, but nobody knows who he is. He sits in the back of the room and he doesn't talk to anybody. That's generally the vibe I get back when we're checking in on him. But and that just seems to be the recurring theme. Like you said, he showed up. He didn't have a booth. He's wandering around with a couple of cards in his hand. I don't know, man. He just doesn't seem to be.
It just bothers me, Michael.
Candidate,
Like you said, it bothers me because that Breaux Bridge Chamber of Commerce meeting, he was invited. He confirmed he was going to be there. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, he can't show up. He was double booked some, but the committee told him, you went ahead and you told us you were coming.
Yeah,
we made sure to do it in enough time for you to come. The other two candidates were there, and look, I don't know what
Here's
other
the question: double booked where? I mean, think about this. You're running for the city police chief in the city of Breaux Bridge, and the Breaux Bridge Chamber of Commerce asks you to come speak to the public. I mean, that's your venue, man. That's where you got to be. If I double booked, I'd be calling whoever else it was, and say, look, man, my people over there, I got to go. I apologize,
Right.
Instead, he did the other way. He told his people, I apologize, I can't make it. That's his base. That's the old saying, lose your base, lose your race.
Yep.
And show up, man. Let's go.
And this is because this is what I'm going to predict right here. If it goes into a runoff, and Rodney doesn't make it to the runoff, and it's Hubert and Buz, Hubert's going to be the next chief of police. Why? Because all them voters that voted for Rodney didn't hear what Buz had to say. You get what I'm saying? And I disagree with that type of method of, well, if my candidate don't win, I'm not going to go vote. I don't like that. If you're a Republican, you should stick behind the Republican candidate. You just pick the lesser of two evils, basically. And that's the thing, that's what I like about Rodney going around and talking. at least the people, if Rodney and Hubert goes into a runoff, at least they know what Rodney's vision is. And look, a small community, like I said, how many you said, 3,500 voters?
Yeah, it's a really small number.
So a small number. Everybody knows everybody, and that's one thing. Like I said, I can commend all of them. They're not trashing each other, so that makes it easier. But if people don't hear what Buz has to say, what you're gonna do? You're gonna have to vote for the one you heard.
One thing I do want to mention is this is going to be probably a low turnout election. We've got Congressman Higgins on the ballot. We've got John Kennedy on the ballot. They don't have strong opponents. There is no mayor on the ballot. Last time we had a mayor's race in Breaux Bridge, I want to say the turnout was like 70 or 80%. It was very significant.
Wow.
There's no mayor on the ballot. This is going to be all, chief of police and amendments, and nobody, it's going to be a low turnout election. So when you say my vote doesn't count, there's 3,500 registered voters. It's probably going to be 20, 30%. Your vote counts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Show up.
Yeah, but you're going to have to show up. And look, don't vote on name recognition. Just go by people's records and their motivation to run that office.
Yeah, do the best we can. That's, and we're doing our part, you and I,
right,
letting folks know what we believe, because we pay a lot more attention to this than the average person.
And look, Michael, you bringing that up. And look, I've told all the candidates that. I started off with Buz and Mr. Hubert. Look, I had Rodney Chitwood on. And I told him, I said, look, I want to be fair. I want everyone to hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, last time I talked to Mr. Hubert, he said, look, we will schedule some. We just never got back together again.
November the 9th. We'll get right on
that. Yeah. but we, this platform's open. Look, hey, if I'm going to even say like this, and this is open, this is public, and this is going to be on my Facebook page. It's going to be on a lot of Facebook pages at the end of the day. Buz, if you want to defend yourself and you want to come talk, call me. I'll get you on here. We'll do a Facebook Live like this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be transparent, but I'll ask the tough questions. And this is stuff that I think people of Breaux Bridge need to hear.
Absolutely. They need to educate themselves on the candidates. And I'm so thankful that you have a platform and you're out there working hard to make sure that folks are aware of what's going on, and that there is an election. That's going to be key as well. As a result of there not being a mayor on the race, there's not going to be a lot of junk in the Tesh News about elections. There's not going to be a lot of TV commercials necessarily. I mean, I know there's a little bit out there now, but
right.
It's not the force that we had 4 years ago when Ricky had an opponent. It's not going to be the same turnout. So it's important that we're out here talking, reminding people that there is an election. Yep. I know it doesn't seem like it, but there is one. It's on November the 8th. Turn out. It's important.
And look, on a side note with that, if you're going to vote on November 8th, look up the amendments, get with the amendments, see what they're talking about. Because that's one thing I think a lot of people don't go vote. We got to vote for these amendments and we don't know what it is. Go vote these amendments. Go educate yourself into that. Like you said, we do have Senator Kennedy on. We do have Clay Higgins on. I think both of them win outright. So,
there's a school board race on too. I don't know that in my area, but there are opposing school board candidates in St. Martin Parish. So if you're in the parish, school board.
There's also a judge race too.
Well, yeah, that's true. There's also a lot of chatter about all these issues going on in schools with this woke agenda, and the school board is going to control that. So be very aware that you need to find a good, probably a mom or a dad that has kids in the school system right now that's going to try to make a difference and ensure that your kids are protected from this junk, because this is bad stuff they've been putting out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Michael, I appreciate you coming on, my brother. I hope we didn't run a little too long, but always nice talking with you. I met you the first time at a campaign event, not a campaign event. It was in Lafayette. I can't remember the event we met at, but it was Rodney invited me and I got to meet you, and I hope this is a good friendship. So, I don't have I don't have nothing bad to say about you. I'm just saying.
Awesome, man. Well, look, come on anytime. Rodney will let you know. We have our organizational meeting for Citizens for New Louisiana. Every couple of weeks we get together, break bread together, and talk about politics. So I'd love to have you.
That sounds good. We'll set something up.
Yes, sir. Talk to you soon.
All right. That was Michael Lunsford. He is the... before I leave, give a prop out to Citizens for New Louisiana. You the founder of it, or?
Yeah, we started it up, the process about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were born with a school tax that they were trying to raise, $253 million, and they didn't need the money. And I proved it on paper using their own documents. So that's where we got started, and we've been rolling ever since.
Well, keep up the good fight for Louisiana, my brother. I appreciate everything you're doing.
Appreciate you, man. Take care.
Yes, sir. Until next time, everybody, be blessed, be encouraged. Remember, share the video, like the video, and go ahead and like the Cajun Conservative page and also the Citizen for New Louisiana. Until next time, be blessed. You be encouraged. Bye-bye.
Bought us with your blood, cleansed and made us whole. Not one hoof, not one soul.